I mean, you are involved with the Stormers. I don't know if I've mentioned that to people. So without giving away any state secrets,
Let me tell you how we're going to play.
you're going to play with physicality and you're going to beat them. Lost the final in 2023, 12-11. We're a kick away from winning it. They weren't really doing that much too wrong.
Exactly.
Zels, it seems like only yesterday that you said, let's talk about a rugby, because we do it every day when we banter. Well, it's 200 episodes.
No ways.
We've made it this far, brother. 200 episodes talking Keo and Zels rugby show. 86 million views during that time. So a massive, massive thank you to everyone who tunes in, wants to talk to us, just wants to talk rugby, talk South African rugby, be it schoolboys, club, provincial, URC, Investec Champions Cup, and obviously the Springboks and winning of the World Cups. And then what a birthday gift for us to align with one of South Africa's favorite brands, Food Lovers Market, proudly South African, just like we are, the home of Biltong, as you can see. And I remember 2 years ago, Zels, you saying to me, bring me real Biltong, and the show will have made it.
Yeah.
So Food Lovers have aligned with us. We're really chuffed to have them on board. We're going to be giving away 5 vouchers, 200 Rand each. That's just for this week. And the prizes will increase vouchers to go into Food Lovers and go to that Biltong bar and get just the best Biltong in town. And what a joy to do a show where you can chow Biltong and obviously nuts and some fruit.
Mate, you know I love a red meat, and there's plenty of it here. They've even got a little bit of groenvleis and some other things, mate. It looks delicious, and I'm looking forward to getting tucked in.
So on our 200th show, what an introduction and what a fun next 2 months it's going to be with all the rugby that's happening. Rugby's greatest rivalry tour, the All Blacks in South Africa for 7 matches, and obviously the 8th one, Baltimore, USA, already sold out, where the Boks go and play against the All Blacks. And then a special day for me as well, and for Gillian, Caroline, my partner. Pike here, 5 years old today, and we took her up the mountain. We took her up the mountain for a hike, her first hike yesterday, because she said it had to happen while she was 4. She was outstanding. We had a wonderful time. Bumped into a few of your fans. They want to know if you weren't on the mountain, they knew where you were, in the gym, pumping the guns. And then when I told you that, you sent me a photo of yourself in the gym pumping the guns. So a special day today. We'll be taken out for a treat this evening, but I will also be taking her home plenty Biltong.
Congratulations,
mate. Thanks, mate. And then, yeah, and thanks for all the banter over the last couple of years on this show. It's just been amazing how many people enjoy us, how many people just enjoy talking rugby, both in South Africa and abroad. And the one thing we've been accused of has been we're so biased, we're so South African, and we're so proudly South African, and it's the greatest compliment we get. And then to be aligned with a proudly South African brand like Food Lovers is just the icing on the cake. So 200 episodes, and here's to 200 more.
Amen. Let's do it, mate. It's been fantastic. And like you said, I think what people resonate with this show is that it really is just us having a conversation. We haven't prepped anything. We just shoot off the cuff. We're not always right, but we are always in love with rugby.
Always
mate.
happy, eh?
Exactly.
Always happy and always
Exactly.
laughing. Looking at the week ahead, All Black Stormers, Friday night, we're going to be there, opening of Rugby's Greatest Rivalry Tour, and then a nice 9 p.m. kickoff. Springboks in Buenos Aires against the Pumas. It's their final hit-out before that first test against the All Blacks, 22nd of August at Ellis Park. Rassie's picked 28 players to go to Buenos Aires. Only 23 can play. Left the rest behind with Tony Brown and a couple of other coaches. And he said they'll be preparing for that first test, but a lot of these players will be involved in that first test match. When you look at that 28, do you think are the obvious ones to be in that first test match 23 against the All Blacks?
Sure. I mean, we've heard rumours that Andre Estes, and almost said Grant Estes again. We've heard rumours that Andre Estes, mate, is going to be playing number 8. So I think there's a bit of smoke and mirrors there. You look at the guys who are left behind. It's basically a first team. I mean, if Marnie Lebok is your starting flower-off, it's basically a starting back line with all the guys you know, Ches and Colby, Curtly Orange, Dukes, Creel, the rest of them. and then Malcolm Marx, Ruan Nokia, and the starting back row of Paul de Villiers, Peter Steph du Toit, and Jasper Wiese. So aside from those guys, the rest of the blokes are over in Argentina. Sia's going to play. You've got to think Eben's going to get out there. But the makeup of that team, mate, if we're talking about Andre at number 8, we may be talking about Andre at number 7. I don't know. What are we doing?
What do you make of Rassi's comments this week about people are maybe too obsessed with the number on the back in the way the Springboks play? He's not talking about the modern game. He says in the way they play. And specifically when he spoke about the makeup of the loose trio and the way we've traditionally played with two big loose forwards and a smaller one who forages to the ball. You've still got your line-out option, you've still got your kick-receive options, and you've still got 2 potentially strong ball carriers. He says the only thing they do is they really pack down at 8, and you can even change that around if you want to. And then he spoke about using Marco van Staden at 8. Siya Kolisi has played there at 8. Kwagga Smith, who's injured and not available, he played there at 8. In this current mix, he says Paul de Villiers has been training at 8. Andre Esterhuizen, when he came out, says he's been training at 8. And he said people may get angry with me when I say this or frustrated, but we just don't see the relevance of the number on the back. It's kind of what they bring to it. What is it that allows them to basically pick whoever they want at an 8?
Yeah, so I think that you want your pack as a collective to have some ball hawk ability. You've got to be able to have an element of your pack that can get in over the ball, force turnovers. You've obviously got to think about your lineouts. You've got to be able to scrum. So how you get that out of which positions is malleable. I mean, obviously your front row's got to be able to scrum. That's non-negotiable. But I think what Rusty was saying was whether your 6 is the guy that plays to the ball and your 8's the ball carrier or vice versa, that's not really a prerequisite anymore. So you could have an 8 that is a guy that can go get the ball, and that's why we've seen Kwagga there at times for them. And you could have a 6 who's maybe a better ball carrier. I mean, Rassie was the guy who was looking at Renan Alstad at open side for a while, and everybody was scratching their head because he's pretty much the opposite of a Heinrich Brousseau, if you think back. And if you go back, I mean, Skalk was a huge ball carrier, as much as he was great over the ball. Juan Smith, obviously great in the line-out, also a big bloke, and then Pierce Spies was the villa at the back of that pack. So South Africa's been in that space for a long time. I think now more than ever, because of the depth that we have and the sort of irrepressible force of this pack, you have a bit more latitude to try a few things there because we kind of have momentum on tap. So I think that that's the reason we can even talk about playing Andre Esterhuizen at the back of the scrum.
When you look at that squad that he's picked, is it as dramatic as a make or break game for some of the veterans in the context of the rivalry series against the All Blacks? I'm not talking World Cup now, that's still a long way to go. But if you look at Alert de Jager, Eben Etzebeth, 2 of the stalwarts, credible locks, but they have been hampered with injury, with concussions, and they just haven't played. What would he be hoping to get out of them outside of finishing the game?
Yeah, I think he's got some plans for them in the RGR, against the All Blacks. And I think getting them on the field and getting their minutes up so that they're ready to compete in that tour is the objective in this Argentina game. And I don't think any game is necessarily make or break for any of these players. I think what's different now to 2024 is the number of matches between now and the start of the next World Cup are way fewer. So your opportunities to get out there and impress Rassie or show that you can do something are getting less and less and less. So for each of these players, if you feel like you're on the bubble or you feel like you maybe not first and second choice, there are fewer opportunities for you to go and prove that you are between now and the start of the 2027 World Cup. And I think that's where the sort of the ghost pressure comes from, is that how many more chances does a guy have? Like, let's say Eben Etzebeth now coming back from injury, how many more chances does he have to prove that he can push through and play?
But I mean, at that level, do they have to prove anything, or is it just down to fitness? Or is the realism around the emerging box that have come through that they may have dropped in the pecking order from where they were a season ago?
Yeah, no, I think that's very possible. I look at it from both of the players involved. Let's take Paul de Villiers and Siya, okay? So the one guy's a double world champion, captain of the team. The other guy's a new kid on the block, test rookie. So what is the test rookie thinking? How does he break into this World Cup squad? He's got to play his best rugby. He's got to have high volume of contributions. He's got to have high quality contributions. He can never be the experienced double world champion that Siya is. So where does he close the gap? And then for Siya, he's thinking, well, I'm a double world champion. Paulie can't close the gap there, but where Paul is going to try and close the gap is on contributions and efforts and quality. And so I've got to deliver that now to prove that I am still a premier flanker. And I think that goes for all of the positions. All of the guys where you've got a youngster pushing a veteran, that's the race, I suppose.
And if you look at that 28 that are going there, Fassi's been given good opportunity, good backing, as Russi's always backed him. We keep on speaking about it. We just really want to see that performance if he does play. They announced the squad. I think it's 7:45 Tuesday night, South African time. Remember, we are a little bit ahead of the boys in Buenos Aires. But you want to see a strong, dominant performance if he does get on. If he does start him as the 15. And if I look at the makeup of the squad, I'd like to think he would start at 15.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's where I think he'll play. And obviously, Fassi's had his great times in the Bok jersey, and he's had some struggles. So he's another guy who want to show, listen, the good times are not a flash in the pan. This is what I do. This is who I am. And he'll want to put his best foot forward this week. A guy like Keo Horn will be waiting for his opportunity to kind of also show what he can do in the 15 jersey and close the gap on Fassi. So I think Fassi's definitely in the pound seats for the number 2 fullback job behind Gaza, and Kieran will be trying to reduce that difference.
I mean, he's picked a hell of a squad when you look at him. You think of like you said, there's a starting 15 that's not there that ordinarily could start a test match with so many double World Cup winners in it. But you look at that pack that he's chosen, which is primary to any visit to going to Argentina, who have been indifferent in their performances in the Nation Championship, losing to England, kind of losing to Scotland, and just getting over the line against Wales, a late flurry that they had to kind of resist. But they seem to get up for the South Africans, for the Springboks. When you look at that, they're guys that know that they're part of the emerging kind of nucleus of a new generation of Springbok. But there's some veterans that just need to show, I've still got 60 minutes, 40 minutes, potentially 80 in the legs, and that they want to be in contention for that 22nd of August opener against the All Blacks at Ellis Park.
No, definitely. I mean, you talked about Lewitt and Ewan. Those are two guys that have been notable for their absence, I suppose, in recent times. You know, they've had some injury concerns. They'll definitely want to put their best foot forward. I think some of the youngsters, you know, a guy like Boan Fenter might not be sure exactly what his test future is as we get close to the World Cup. There's a lot of competition for those backup roles. Jan-Hendrik Wessels needs to keep on developing and improving as the sort of Swiss Army knife in the front row. Kobus Wiese is another guy who's probably in the Boan camp where it's like, Ewan, we're not sure what his future is. Is this an opportunity for me to cement a place? There's quite a few of those guys. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Krappie go at scrum off, and Edwil van der Merwe is a personal favourite. Those are two guys that will also want to improve their sort of foundations in this box squad.
If you look at someone like Sasha Feinberg on Ngomazulu, superstar last year, went well in the URC Investing Champions Cup, voted by the players as the player of the tournament, got injured in the quarterfinal. Manie Lebok has stepped in. We know that Manie Lebok plays well against the All Blacks. 35-7 at Twickenham, he was the 10. Wellington, Sasha came off with concussion. Manie played most of the game, 43-10, and a big favourite of Tony Brown's. Do you see a potential Manie Lebok starting option at Ellis Park with Sasha coming off the bench and Pollard coming into the series a bit later? And when a player comes back from a 2-month layoff, from a coaching perspective, is the greater risk to start that player or to play that player off the bench?
Yeah, I think Rassie in his sort of history has always played the guy coming back from injury. So if there is an issue with conditioning or fitness, you can swap him out. You know, once you've got your main guy on and then you bring the guy who's coming back from injury onto the game off the bench, if he has an issue, you can be in trouble sometimes. So I think that's been his MO. In terms of the fly halves, if the Boks are pushing the Tony Ball approach, I would say Manie and Sasha are definitely higher up in the queue than Andre for that game style. And then those guys will feature more prominently in the game. So the selections around the test teams will be telling in terms of how they want to play. And again, you know, when the pack is as dominant as they are, if you can get that ascendancy on the All Blacks, you don't need a 10 who's taking the ball to the line and trying to run over guys. You could play wide, you can be exciting, and the world is your oyster.
Some players choose a side. They've always said a back can never be a forward. But with Steko, Ryobi didn't just reinvent the rules. It changed the entire game. Hybrid tools for a hybrid craftsman. Steko, shaping the future. 40 years of Ryobi credibility.
If you look closer to home in Cape Town, because we're going to discuss Boks, Pumas in greater detail in our second episode this week, but if you look closer to home, the All Blacks are here. 43 of the 44 are here. Ardie Savea will only come in the week leading up to the first test match. Richie Mohanga is eligible finally. He came off the bench, 51st minute for Canterbury against Auckland. He scored the match-winning try and kicked the conversion. He can be flown in, but only if there's an injury. One of those crazy, crazy decisions. I still don't know why they didn't just pick 43 and allow him to play on Saturday and fly him in on the Sunday. Yeah. But he's not here. But there was a welcome to the All Blacks at the DHL Stadium in Cape Town. 5,000 on a Friday afternoon came out wearing their All Blacks jersey. Most of them had to take their Stormers jersey off and to greet them. The All Blacks said that they felt like they were basically back in Auckland. Home ground advantage. The question that's been asked to me by a few people, one gentleman who I saw when I was on the hike up the mountain, he's a big fan of yours, and he was surprised at the turnout. And he said a question that I think you guys should actually just discuss and ask people to give views in the comment section is this love for the All Blacks or the support for the All Blacks that deep-seated in history and in politics that those who still support the All Blacks here cannot find it in themselves to support a Siya Kolisi rainbow Springbok back-to-back World Cup winning squad? And his thing was like, what do people say about that? Those people who support it. So we are inviting you, if you are listening or you're watching, kind of drop us a line on the comment section and kind of just give us an education. Let us understand it. Is it that politically driven? Is it because grandfather, great-grandfather supported, we support? Is it because we love the All Blacks style of play? Is there romance with the All Blacks? But it is out of kilter with anywhere in the world that the All Blacks can get that kind of support in another country, and especially a leading rugby nation.
Yes, I mean, it's an anomaly. You don't really see that in other sports. I think the All Blacks have been a huge brand in rugby for a long time, and they have supporters all over the world. I think in Cape Town specifically, it does have a political connotation, or South Africa politically, it has a historical connotation, but I think the generation of rugby fan today is probably too young to really connect with that. It may just be something that you inherit from your folks, you know. Who's Ollie's favourite soccer team?
Ollie's favourite soccer team, Liverpool.
And who's your favourite soccer team?
Liverpool.
Well, there we go, mate. So I think there may be a bit of an inheritance thing.
But Liverpool don't play Orlando Pirates.
No, I get that. I get that. But even if they did, like Stephen Pienaar played for Everton, I'm sure you hated Everton when he was there.
I love Stephen Pienaar, but not in the Merseyside
Well, there
derby.
we go. That's what I'm saying.
No, but I'm not knocking anyone for supporting the All Blacks. I think it's fabulous that as long as people are going to get to the stadium on Friday night and actually support one or two of the teams. I'm just trying to understand that I certainly get the political side of it and the history of why one would choose not to support the Springboks, even pre-2018. But so much has changed in the last 8 years under Siya Kolisi as the captain and the route that we've gone in our rugby.
Yeah.
And also the winning success we have. We've beaten the All Blacks 5 of the last seven test matches, won back-to-back World Cups. There's so much to love about the Springboks and about South African rugby that is it not enough to kind of sway you to say, political history aside, I actually get what this team's about and I support them because I was born here, raised here, and I've lived here. I've actually never been to New Zealand. On what basis am I supporting them? So it's not about knocking anyone who supports the Blacks. I'm actually just trying to understand in 2026 what makes their appeal stronger than Siya Kolisi and his Springboks appeal to South Africans who live here, were raised here, and many of them in a democratic society as well. It's just when the question was raised to me and said, can you just put it out to the many who listen and watch you guys, we'd be really interested in the answers, and we take those answers into the next show and kind of put your reasoning out there. But 5,000 people, that was one hell of a turnout.
It was fantastic. I saw people all over Cape Town in the All Blacks jerseys, and I think it's great for this tour. That's exactly what you want. You want it to be, you want to feel the heat on the streets, right? You want this to be real. So I think it's great. People must support whoever they want to support. I would also like to understand it better, and I think it's going to make for a very vibey Stormers versus All Blacks match, and then obviously the Springboks versus the All Blacks.
No, and just on that point as well, in this discussion that I had, and I think to illustrate that we're not knocking the support and why it was politically so.
Sure.
In the days of segregation, the days of apartheid, is the madness of the way it was in South African rugby, that your Siya Kolisis, your Sashas, your Kanan Moody's, your Cheslin Colbys, your Fussies, your Kurtley Orances, the list goes on and on, your Oxen Chairs, would never have played for the Springboks.
Correct.
Because of the injustice that was there. And I think that's what always, that reality hits home for me, because we're not talking about 100 years ago. We're talking about 20 years ago. And so the change that's come in the last 6 to 8 years has been dramatic, and all for the betterment of that. So I fully respect the view of those who lived through that era and just refuse to give up on what they felt was a team that they could relate to, a team that offered hope, offered opportunity, offered freedom of choice. So, but it's madness when I think about we would have been denied the likes of these incredible rugby players based on the color of their skin.
Yeah.
It's still...
But that's why I brought up the thing
boggles the
about it
mind.
being something that's inherited, because I think even though the generation of rugby fan today is younger and probably didn't have the first-person connection with that stuff, their parents and their grandparents still do. So I think it could be something that you kind of inherit in that way, and probably something that will change with time.
When you look at Friday's game, and I mean, you are involved with the Stormers, I don't know if I've mentioned that to people. So without giving away any state secrets,
Let me tell you how we're going to play.
you're going to play with physicality and you're going to beat them. Okay, no, that's for Thursday's discussion. But looking at this All Black setup, 43 players on tour. We know Ardie Severe's not here. Dave Rennie has gone on record to say that everyone's going to get a hit out in the opening games against the Stormers, the Sharks in Durban next Tuesday, and then the Bulls at Loftus. I mean, so one hell of a start to the tour in prep for that first test against the Boks at Ellis Park on the 22nd. There's 10 new caps. There were 34 involved in the Nations Championship. 10 new players added, and 9 new caps in total from the first squad that was selected. And he's already said Beauden Barrett as one player will play against the Stormers. What kind of team are you expecting to see? And do you think we will see the match 23, with the exclusion of Ardie Severe, that will play the Boks in the first test at any stage of these 3 matches, or is it going to be a mix and match?
I think it's going to be mix and match, but I think there's going to be obviously a core of this team that plays in each of these games. So I think by unit, you'll be able to look back and go, okay, this is the test team, and the tight 5 was prominent in the game against the Stormers, or the back 3 and the back row were prominent in the game against the Bulls. I don't think he's going to break up his entire team and kind of go full experimental with selections. I think everyone is going to play like he said. I think there's plenty of talent in the squad to give the provincial sides a real run for their money, obviously. Like we were already looking at Beauden Barrett starting at fly-off in that first one. And the options around that, there's some obviously great players all the way around. So I think there may be a game in the provincial matches before the first test where you see a guy like Tavatava Hawaii starting at 12, and you see what they can do with that. And you think, oh, okay, interesting. And then the next game, maybe it's Geordie at 12, you know. But I think for the most part, it's going to be strength. If it was me, I would try and carry forward that continuity from the Nations Championship into this game against the Stormers. Make a tweak here or there, but try and keep the nucleus of that side together. just so that you can continue to build what you have. I think if you kind of just tore those teams up and started fresh now, I think you lose a bit of momentum in that sort of selection sphere. But I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these youngsters go, or the new kids, the rookies, the Josh Murby, the Fini Anganofo guy, I think is going to be an interesting player. Those are two big bookends that they've got in their back line. And then Rico comes back into the mix, obviously adds a lot of flash there. So it's going to be good.
We've had 3 tests to see them. 34-32 against France. Stumbled, kind of indifferent against Italy. And then a really world-class performance in dismantling Ireland at the Fortress, Eden Park. A wonderful win. Is that as close to, you think, their best squad at the moment? Do you think there could be changes? And how different do you think the match 23 for Friday against the Stormers will look to that 23 that played Ireland? We know Bowden Barrett will be there for Ruben Love, but hearing James Ryan, the assistant coach, and players saying it's important to start the tour well and to get a very good win against a team they felt was the best of the South Africans in the URC.
He knows his rugby, does. No, look, I think the core of that side you're going to see against the Stormers. I'd be surprised if they make wholesale changes to that team, but they may have a plan to make their changes early on and kind of get closer to the test team, closer to the first test. So I would expect them to go pretty much the same with 1 or 2 changes here or there. And like I say, I mean, if you look at the quality there, coming up against the Stormers team that is kicking off sort of preseason prep, it's going to be fun.
If we look at the commentary coming out of New Zealand on the breakdown, Jeff Wilson, wonderful winner, fullback for the All Blacks, 60 tests, 44 tries, probably the most prominent of the former All Blacks on that show. He said at the weekend, I think we've gotten back to who we are. We understand in our DNA. For years, what we've maybe done for probably the last 10 years in beating other countries at what they're good at, or trying to, it's their superpowers. He said, we try to physically dominate the South Africans, outflare France and outstructure Ireland, but we're not going to beat them at their superpowers. What we've had to do is we have to be great at what we're doing so well, or done so well in the past: speed, conditioning, skill, and putting the opposition under pressure, and making sure we go out saying, you try to stop us, rather than us focusing on stopping them. Now, this is also the All Blacks, ranked 2 in the world, have won rugby championships in this period that we've been back-to-back world champions, lost a final in 2023, 12-11, we're a kick away from winning it. They weren't really doing that much too wrong.
Exactly.
I mean, if that's you at your worst, second
Yeah.
in the world and losing the World Cup final by a point,
Yeah.
and winning a couple of rugby championships in between.
Look, we may find out why Razor went that way. Why Razor maybe played more percentage rugby than people in New Zealand are used to. And it may be because of the quality of the squad at his disposal, the depth of quality in his squad. He may have looked at what he had and thought, if we try to sprint in high heels, we're probably going to trip and fall. So, let's not do the 100-meter sprint. Let's do something else. And I think Rennie believes that he can turn this team into what they were before, revert them back to the glory days where they were a very dominant side who were deadly on sort of counter-attack, transition, and ferocious ball in hand, and I understand the thinking there too. I'm not sure that the quality of this squad can beat the Boks at that game, and I think their only hope is to try and get the Boks to take them on and play New Zealand rugby against New Zealand. I think if the Boks are true to their Springbok roots, I'm not sure there's enough power in this squad to stand up to that. Having said that, the last World Cup final was quite close, and they did pump us a week before we delivered our biggest win against them. So, a week is a long time in rugby, mate. I will say that there are more efficient ways to play rugby than other ways. There is a more efficient way to play, but it has to be tailored to your personnel. If nobody in your team can kick a ball or catch a high ball, you have to come up with a plan that doesn't roll in those two spheres. And for that particular team, that game plan may work best for them. But unfortunately, there is no substitute for power in rugby. If you can't scrum and you can't win your lineouts, you can do your best to operate in that space, but the odds are against you that you're going to win consistently. And I think what the All Blacks have in their favour is that in the rest of the world, excluding the Springboks, they still have enough power and skill to dominate with that game plan against most teams.
When you look at the Razor Robinson 18-month era, 2 seasons, and the 3 matches you've seen under Rennie, has there been massive changes has it been more potentially attitude, a little bit more direct, more confrontational, or has there been a willingness for Dave Rennie to succeed? So everything that they're doing at the moment is being lauded as there's change, because at the end of the Razor Robinson tenure, it was like, we just got to get this guy out. So no matter what they did, it wasn't good enough. Having analysed them, and you've had to analyse them obviously for Friday night's game, have you seen big differences in the approach of the team tactically?
Yeah, I wouldn't say massive differences. The All Blacks are under Rennie in the Nations Championship, at least, are kicking 25% less than they used to under Razor. And I think that's probably a consequence of the focus on ball in hand rugby, dominating the collisions, being direct and physical. I think maybe under Razor they kind of played to get into their sort of kick space quicker, into that kicking game quicker. They certainly had a lower rate of carries and rucks to kick than they do now. So these guys are going to play more rugby than the previous guys did. And I don't necessarily mean that in terms of volume. It's not like they're making twice as many carries as they used to. But I think they are leaning on their attack to generate points more than the kicking game to give them transition opportunities. So they're going to try and come through the front door more often. I think the line-out is an area they'll want to improve. That probably hasn't lived up to what they need. And they will lean heavily on the scrum to deliver field position, because that's the lifeblood of that kind of an approach. So the sort of cost of that sort of approach has been that they take longer now to win turnovers. Their defence is maybe rolling the dice less on winning turnovers at the expense of penalties. So they're making more tackles now than they probably did before per kick. But other than that, I wouldn't say there's been wholesale change. It's not like a completely new game plan, completely different team. I just think their focus is in a different area.
If you look at Friday night, and there's been talk about tickets for the tour, etc. I know I went to see Disney on Ice. I know what I paid for that a couple of weeks ago. It's the All Blacks in Cape Town against the Stormers. The last time a match of this capacity happened was 1976. It was Newland. The Stormers were then playing as Western Province. Same colours, same socks, same jersey now. The All Blacks were 28 matches unbeaten dating back to 1973. They were 11-0 up with 15 minutes to go. And Western Province won that game 12-11. It's been 50 years since that magnificent victory of a club side in Cape Town over the All Blacks. You would like to think 15,000 people came and watched the Stormers 23 play in the Currie Cup. There were 25,000 watching a schools game, Paul Boys High against Gim in Paul. There were 5,000 that pitched up to watch the All Blacks just do a walk around at DHL Stadium. I would like to think that there should be a massive crowd in on Friday night, regardless of the discussion around test match or tour ticket prices.
Absolutely. I mean, like you say, it's what is it? Once every, what are we talking about? 50, 30, 50, 30, what are we? 50 years?
Yeah, once every 50 years.
I mean, come on. It's almost a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I think the place will be packed. There's a huge All Blacks contingent in Cape Town. Stormers rugby is the best supported rugby in club rugby in the world. You've got tons of rugby fans in this town who know their game, and I think they're going to show up in their droves, especially for the opener of this tour.
And, you know, I'm not going to put you on the spot because I have spoken to Dobbo. It's a difficult and complex preparation for this match because the Stormers ordinarily would be at the heart of their preseason with the URC only happening back end of September. But there has been a commitment to this fixture. I know that the conditioning coaches have been involved. The whole mindset has changed. And the Stormers are putting their best available 23 out there. And it's very similar to what we saw in the URC, we saw in the playoffs at the tail end. So it's going to be a contest. It's going to be one bloody physical game because the Stormers aren't that disruptive with national call-ups when it comes to the pack. There's still a power pack they can put out. And one of the exciting combinations that we know that there'll be no Sasha and Yuri Matias injured. Jean-Luc is coming back from injury, is that Yakin Ahmed will be in the match 23. He's probably going to start against the Bowden Barrett. He's just turned 20 years old. And one of the segments that we're going to be introducing over the next 2 months, because local is lacquer with food lovers. And the focus kid for this weekend is certainly this kid, Wynberg Boys High. He matriculated last year, Yakin Ahmed. What do you make of him?
I mean, you mentioned JL, and in a way, he reminds me of Jean-Luc. You know, he's a fiery character. He's exciting on the ball. He's not a guy who's going to sit in the pocket and try and pick you apart. He's right there in the thick of the action. He's probably a guy you're going to have to leash a little bit and be like, hey, you don't need to be in a maul. You don't need to be at the bottom of a ruck. You don't need to be making tackles on the number 8. I think he's a guy who wants to be involved. And that's always a good sign for a halfback. I suppose in that situation, you're thinking about durability. But in terms of his skill set and his confidence and his verve, like, he's got that in mass. So, great ball carrier, good feet, great distribution game, good kicking game, sees the depth of the field, good communicator. He's got all the pieces that you need to make a really good halfback. So this is a huge opportunity for him. Gets to play with some of the seniors from the Stormers setup against the All Blacks in this historic tour. It's the perfect stage for a guy who wants to perform. This is the perfect opportunity, and I think Yakin is one of those guys.
And I mean, that's what makes this fixture so unique. That you've got a Grizzly seasoned player like Nederland Forshia, Dion Fourie, who get the chance to play the All Blacks. And for Dion Fourie to get a chance to play them in Cape Town, given that incredible feat, 2023 World Cup final when he played 77 minutes and captained the Boks in the last 2 minutes of that dramatic final. And then you get 19 and 20-year-old kids who could be involved in this game. And a guy like Yakin, he would have looked at Bowden Barrett 10 years ago and thought one of the best 10s in the world when he was 9 or 10 years old, and he could be up against him.
Totally. I mean, that's the stuff that dreams are made of, isn't it? That's exactly what you want. And, sometimes you don't know that the next superstar is right in front of you until a couple of years down the track. We may look back on this game and think, wow, this was the breakout game for Yakin. And that's what makes these kind of matches so exciting, is that there's so much potential. There's sort of sky's the limit.
We're talking fly-offs, obviously talking food lovers, vouchers, 200 Rand. We're going to give away 5 of them, courtesy of Food Lovers. So you can go to the home of Biltong and you can purchase it, and then purchase a lot more when you're there. And as the months go on, obviously, I think the vouchers will improve, the vouchers will increase, and we'll be giving away lots of goodies. But we have one question that you've got to answer, and you go onto all our WhatsApp channels, our social media channels. When Western Province won 12-11 against the All Blacks in 1976 at Newlands, a particular fly-off kicked the match-winning conversion. He was a hero of mine growing up. Tell us your name, tell us his name, and you go into the draw to win those vouchers. We're not going to mention it now. Do your research, or just go on to SA Rugby Magazine, go to the Sunday Times. Big features written about that by David Isaacson. Great feature about that 76 game. And then obviously go on to the Keo.co.za blog. There's lots on the rivalry tour. And get a chance to win. Looking at the next 24 hours, when people will debate that All Black side, who in particular would you like to see in Cape Town as a fan playing that 23?
Mate, I keep on saying this guy's name, not just because it's impressive, because it's got 68 letters in it, but Timothy Tavatavanawaii is a guy I want to see in the black jersey. I want him to prove me wrong, that he isn't this special player. I think he's exactly what the All Blacks need. I think he's a ferocious hammer. He reminds me a bit of Botia, He's a guy who is great over the ball. He's one of those oaks who, if he weighs 100 kilograms, he's actually 200 kilograms of muscle power. He's a dense human, hard to stop. Tuisova, the center, also another guy like that. Just that physical presence there who creates a real mismatch in contact, and that becomes a problem. And I don't think it comes at the expense of any skills. He may have to stand on his tippy toes to get the peanut butter jar off the top shelf, unlike Geordie Barrett. But other than that, I think he is potentially the real deal, and I want to see him play.
Yeah, I mean, and the winners, if you can pronounce their names.
What did I say? Fini Anga Nofo. And who's the other guy? Murby?
No, Murby's not bad.
Murby,
but you're very good at the pronunciation.
I'm amazing.
Eh?
I get calls from the New Zealanders all the time.
How excited are you? I mean, I haven't been this excited for a tour. I mean, I was a kid when they came here in 76. I was a working journalist on the tour in 96 when John Hart's All Blacks came and won for the first time. I mean, this is something special. Rugby's greatest rival. It is incredible to have them here for the best part of 6 weeks and to have 44 All Blacks in town. and for our rugby to be immersed in All Blacks v Springboks, but also to be playing the 4 major URC teams.
Yeah, so for me, what I like about it is the history and the context the history gives. So 96, they came here, we the world champions, it's the All Blacks coming in, and South Africans thought we were going to wipe the floor with these guys and show them a good time, and it didn't quite turn out that way. And I think the similarities between those two things, like it's unthinkable for us now that the All Blacks could win this series. Like if you went to a South African rugby fan and you said the All Blacks are going to win, they said laugh you out of the room. But that's the nature of this rivalry. Anything could happen. Things can flip on a dime. So that's what I'm excited to see is for the whistle to go and the game to start and to experience it.
And once we've had the Stormers game back to back, straight in we go, and we know it will be pretty much wholesale changes for the Sharks, and then into Loftus, I mean, then that buzz will really be there. Boks will have played against the Pumas, building up to that first set at Ellis Park. And the spiritual home of South African rugby, the only appropriate one, it's Ellis Park for the first test, then the best city in the world, Cape Town, world-class stadium, DHL, and then for that third one, FNB Stadium, 94,000.
Yo.
I mean, it's just perfectly set up. One plays 2 in the world, 4 World Cup titles, plays 3 World Cup titles, and so little has separated them. 105 years, 110 test matches. It's 21-17 to the All Blacks over all that time. But in South Africa, we do have the advantage for wins. But when it comes to points differential, it's, I think, 1 point that separates the two teams. So it's going to be the most incredible next 6 weeks of rugby. Zels and I will be back on these seats, chowing our biltong and our fruit and our nuts, and talking preview to the Boks against the Pumas, obviously preview to the Stormers against the All Blacks. We want to know what you think, that we've made it to 100 shows. We want to thank you for showing an interest enough that we have made it to 200 shows. And we also want to know why it is, just to educate us, not out of arrogance from our side, but potentially out of ignorance, why it is that you still can't love Siya Kolisi Springboks, but you love the All Blacks.